Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead. Just go ahead and get your cocoa or coffee or tea or whatever it is that you drink in the morning and get your chair and pull it up, because hey, there's nothing like having a good old-fashioned just sit down and talk to every now and then, you know? And I think that's probably what Porch Time needs to be today. Because the topic today is going to be when life just gets too complicated. Because that's where we are in the generation that we live in today. I do a lot of research in a lot of different areas and fields and stuff like that, and spend a lot of my mornings. I get up a lot of times around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Just sit down on my computer and just start reading and doing research and stuff like that, because usually I can't sleep at that time in the morning anyway. So why not? You know, so this morning I am hoping that we will be able to have that talk about when life gets too complicated. Sometimes we make life more complicated than it has to be. You know, I think it's Alabama that has a song, you know, talking about I'll drive too fast and my car has absolutely nothing to do. You know, but that's our mentality today. I think the word they use is a microwave society, instant gratification, no delayed gratification. Everything is just got to be now, now, now. And the proof of that is just go somewhere like a fast food restaurant or where you have to wait in line to get something, and you know, if you don't have your food in 10 or 15 minutes, boy, you're ranting and raving, and you know, what's wrong? You know, why is it taking so long? And they bring you more tea and more appetizers, and you can't understand why it's taking so long. And guys, you know, stop and think about it. When we grew up, you know, those of us that are older, it took hours to prepare a meal, and we're sitting here fussing because it's 10 minutes longer than what we ought to be, you know. And I've been guilty. I'm not going to say I've fallen prey to this when I used to go out and eat a long time ago, and I haven't went out to eat, and I don't know. I guess when Jen from the Nut House was here, you know, when Sheila and them was up here, we took Jen out for her birthday. I guess that's the first time I've been out to eat, and I don't even know how long, because I just don't do it anymore. But that's the society that we live in today. We've only got so much time to do something, and we try to make sure we get everything in that we can get in that amount of time. We think when the phone rings, we have to answer every call. We think if we get a text message, we've got to answer it right then. We can't wait and do it later. You know, I used to tell the guys on my job, you know, no phones in your pocket. You know, your phones can stay in the truck. You can look at them at break time, you can look at them at dinner time, and you look at them when you go home. Any other time, you're on my time. No phones. And you know, and I actually had to let a lot of guys go because some of them just could not break the habit. Now, believe it or not, whether you want to or not, I don't own a cell phone. I haven't owned a cell phone in probably, I don't know, 4 years maybe. Don't want one. I grew up my whole life without having a phone in my pocket. And it's become quite nice not to have one in my pocket now. You know, I mean, there may come a time in my life where I'll own one again. I don't know. But right now, I don't see the need in it. And I don't want one. Because, guys, it just makes life too complicated. We're always having to talk to somebody. We feel like that we just got to talk. We got to talk. And the thing about it is, growing up, you know, I went to work every day. I come home in the evening and I talked to my wife when I got home. There wasn't no calling her during the day. She didn't call me and I didn't call her. I didn't call the kids and the kids didn't call me. I sent them to school and you know, we hope they came home that evening. And I know we do live in a little bit of a different world today. But that's the bottom line is, guys, we've just made life so complicated. Sometimes we just have to sit down and you got to look deep inside your own soul. Now this is where it gets tough. You've got to decide, what is it that really makes you happy? Is it having a lot of money? Is it having more time? Is it having things? Is it being around family? Is it being by yourself? Is it being off in the woods in a house, living secluded like a hermit? What is it that makes you happy? Getting up, going to work every day? I know people live right here close to me. They're never home, and I ask them why. They go, because I can't stand to be home. I got to be away from home. I got to be at work. I got to be somewhere. Isn't that sad? The thing you spend the most money on is your home, and yet you're trying to get away from it. I don't want to leave my home, I'll be honest with you. I really don't even like going to town. I'd rather be out here in my garden, in my little meditative state of mind, working with my vegetables, or working with my animals, or, working on the place here. Just me and the good Lord above, chit-chatting back and forth. Letting the Spirit lead me and guide me. This is the kind of stuff that makes me happy. Low stress. That's a big one there. Because you see, stress, according to the research I've done, stress is the number one culprit to a lot of our physical issues. I know a lot of people tell me, I've got this problem and I've got that problem, I've got this disease and I've got that disease. And I'll go look at those diseases and I'll go look at those conditions, and there's one thing I'm looking for. Is one of the root causes stress. And 99 times out of 100, stress plays a huge factor in every one of them. And the thing about it is we've become so comfortable with the life that we live that we don't even realize it's stress. We have things like road rage. You're behind the wheel of the car and you're driving, and man, why are they not speeding up? I mean, it's a 65 mile an hour speed limit right here. Why are they driving 55? Maybe because life's not complicated to them. Maybe because they get there when they get there. Maybe they're enjoying the scenery. Who knows, whatever the circumstances is. But the problem is, I have road rage. And the problem is, I'm the only one really suffering from it when I'm behind somebody like that that's driving slow. Who knows, they may have a vehicle problem. They may have problems with their vehicle. If they speed up, it could be dangerous to drive. There's a lot of things that could be the other side of the equation. But because we live the life that we live, that's under such high stress, we're in town, horns are blowing, and people's trying to, you're trying to see traffic coming, and you're just trying to figure out, man, can I get out between these two, or I got to wait for 5 more, or, and all this kind of stuff. All that is just stress, guys. And a lot of us have too much month at the end of the money. That's probably a number one thing right there. We owe more than we have money for. Thankfully, I don't have that problem. And I know that sounds weird. I'm not rich, by no means. I'm rich in the Lord. I'm rich in the Spirit. I'm not rich in money. I've had my time with money. And yes, I need it to survive. But I don't have to have huge amounts of it anymore. You see, because I lived the kind of life that was not the cookie cutter lifestyle. Any of y'all ever went back and watched my video, The Journey, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because on that particular video, I talk about how I look at life. and the simplicity that I think life should be. And the thing about it is, guys, we make life a lot more complicated than it has to be. Now, granted, there are some issues in life that dictate certain things. House notes now are pretty expensive. And to get a house the way I got a house now is, depending on where you live at, if you live where I live at, it's virtually impossible. Because you see, I just designed my own home and I just built it myself, and I moved into it when there wasn't nothing but just plywood and house wrap on the outside and studs on the inside. There was no insulation, no wiring, no plumbing, no nothing. And I paid for it as I went until I finished it. But you see, the problem today is we have legality now. We have codes now in a lot of places. And where I live at here, we've gone under international code because of natural disasters. And the problem now is you have to have a architectural set of plans that's been stamped, the red stamp, to make sure they've been approved. And you've got to have inspections throughout the house, you know, foundation, electrical, plumbing, all these things, AC. You got to have all these things before you can get what's called an occupancy permit. You can't live in it till then now. The power company won't even hook up the power unless you meet certain specifications now. And guys, that's just basically taking a lot of our freedoms away from us. To be able to own a home and build it as we go. Now granted, there's some people out there that don't have any business building a house because they don't know what they're doing, and probably build some pretty dangerous stuff. I've had to go in and fix some of them, and I know what I'm talking about. Building a home should be left to qualified people. But it should be done in a way that you don't owe a huge debt. But the problem is we do owe huge debts. And I think the latest statistics I looked at is a house note should cost 1/3 of your monthly income. Now my daddy always raised me, son, don't ever make a bill or a note higher than what 1 week's paycheck is. Because if you do, then you won't be able to pay for it with a week's paycheck. It'll take more than a week's paycheck to pay it, and you're going to get yourself in financial bondage. And I've always adhered to that, and my dad had a 4th grade education. He didn't have a high school education, he didn't have a college education, but he's probably one of the smartest men I ever knew. He couldn't even write a check, but he was extremely intelligent. You see, life gets pretty complicated sometimes. I've been doing a lot of research on millennials. And you ask why? Well, I'll tell you why. A lot of our subscribers are millennials. And I figure if you're a subscriber of mine and you're a millennial, then I need to know a little bit about you. I need to know what makes you tick. I need to know what you like. I need to know a little bit about who you are. If you were born from 1980 on, you fall into that category. But now I've come across some things that's been kind of interesting. Those people that were born in the 80s, they don't like being called millennials no more. They like being called the Generation X or X Generation, one of the two right there. I've read so much I don't remember. But they don't like being thrown in that category as millennials anymore because they were so close to our generation that they don't want to be in the other generation. I ran across some really interesting statistics on millennials. Millennials have a language all their own. There's some 40 words that millennials use that if you don't know those words, a millennial can carry on a conversation and you won't even know what they're talking about. Totally amazing to me. But you know what I realized in it? All those words were partial words. Because they didn't want to take the time to say the whole word. Because they're in a rat race really, really, really wanting to go fast-paced with life. They believe, according to what I was able to read and find out, that they are smarter than the generation which was before them. And they're more intelligent, and that it should take us older people a lot longer to catch up with them. Hey, there may be some truth to that, especially when it comes to computers and some of the technology that's out there today. I probably would agree with that. But you know what? None of that bothers me, because I love the millennial age group. Hey, that's the future of my country. That's the future of everything we know coming. It's our responsibility as older people and older adults to steer them along as much as we can. Now, they're going to excel past us in a lot of areas because they've got technology and knowledge we don't possess. And that is perfectly fine, because every age usually, leaps ahead of the one that's behind them. But I run across some really interesting statistics, especially young women that are millennials. I was reading just this morning, before I got up to come out here, that a lot of the older millennials, I'm going to call them older, the ones that's born in the early 80s and late 80s, are no longer choosing millennial age men that are anywhere between 1 to 5 years older than them. Life has gotten too complicated for them, evidently. They're interested in guys that are like 20 years older than them. Anywhere between 10, 20, some of them even 30 years older than them. Because it seems like that's an age group that's more settled down, more level-headed, more able to treat them like a lady, and able to see things the way they see life. The biggest thing I found is that guys were dropping the ball. They weren't living up to what men should be. The guys had fallen into more showing their emotions than the older generation guys were. And to that, a lot of these young millennial girls think that they're showing weakness, and they would rather have an older guy that shows a strength. Some interesting stuff I found there. It's amazing how the different age groups look at how complicated life is in different aspects. Today when we go to text somebody, or we've lost the whole art of social skills. We don't talk anymore. Not face to face. We talk on a phone where we can't see somebody, and a lot of us will Skype, or we'll do Facebook face to face. That's what I do a lot of times. But 90% of the people probably just text. And we've lost that face-to-face social skill that we had in the beginning. And now it's like life's just too complicated. We won't even take time to spell out words. We got the new thing now. It ain't new. It's been out for several years, but people don't even want to type anymore. They just swipe. They're going even beyond that. Now they just hit the button on the phone and just speak into it, and it just does texting based on what you speak into the phone. Because we're just in too big of a hurry, and life is just too complicated. We just say OMG, or, instead of saying oh my God, we just say OMG or LOL. I'm going to laugh out loud. Well, we don't want to type that out. It takes too long because we're in too much of a hurry. Life, it's just complicated. Who is it that's got the song out about a complicated life? Tim McGraw. He talks about how complicated life is. When a hoe was just a hoe. Or when a screw was just a screw. Or when I'm down with that, it meant you had the flu. Guys, I got mosquitoes here. Since it's warmed up, they're coming out bad. They're just chewing on me. If you see me moving around, that's what it is. I'm sitting out here enduring mosquitoes for y'all. Yes, I am. Okay. But anyway, Tim McGraw has that song out, and I thought it was pretty appropriate for the age that we live in. And guys, just slow down. Enjoy your life. A lot of us get all hyped up because Something's lurking on the horizon. Yeah, there's something lurking on the horizon. But is it worth it for you to get all worked up over and get all stressed out and make life so complicated that you've got coronary heart problems? And you know, a lot of us trying to lose weight, we can't figure out why. It's called cortisol. Cortisol is brought on by stress. You know, there's all kinds of ways. You know, our belly's too big, our hips are too big, our legs are too big. It's all because of cortisol. Cortisol is just fat stored up in the body, brought on by a hormone imbalance due to stress. You know, and I know that life has so many things that it throws at us. You know, we go to do our taxes, you know, and they say, well, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to have this, you got to have that. And I sit back and I'm like, wow, what happened to just being able to just live and go to work or work on the farm and make a living off the farm, just raising your own food? And you know, our houses now have smart meters on them. You know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. That's a complicated subject right there. Guys, I was going to do a porch time on this, but I might as well just throw it in right now. Let me just be as honest to you as I can. I've done a lot of reading on smart meters. A lot of research. Let's say that our house is our home, and it is for a lot of us. Some of us it's just a place to lay our head because we're not there over a couple hours at a time every day. But let's look at it like this. The powers to be are wanting to know everything that goes on behind those walls. We've got RFID chips and phones now. We've got them in televisions now. Televisions and phones and all that can be turned on. They can be turned off without you even knowing it. Computers have webcams that can be turned on and off without you even knowing it. There's all these things. You know what an octopus is? You know, that swims around the ocean, got the big 8 legs out there, big old long legs, big tentacles that just reach out there and come right up in there where you at, you know. That's what the powers to be are trying to make happen to your house. You know, it started out with just a power line running into your house. Then it was a phone line running into your house. Now a lot of us has got cable running into our house. And we think, boy, all this technology is just great. I don't have to go to the movies no more. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. You know, the conveniences of life. Well, let me tell you something. The smart meters now, the power company, see, I mean, the technology of a smart meter is the same thing as in your cell phone. Because what they do is they turn that thing on and they read a database in it. And that database basically tells them what electricity you used, how much of it you used, and how much they can charge you, and when you used it. Because you can go up there and get a daily report printed out to your daily usage, and it shows you the peak of the time during the day you used it, and exactly what hour you used the most peak, and you know, when it was at its lowest, and if it fluctuates, what time of the day it was fluctuating, what you were doing that time of the day in the house. That smart meter has the technology that it can tell whatever goes on in that house. It can tell you what was turned on in the house, how long you ran it, how many people's in your house, how many people took a bath, how many people washed clothes, how many people run a dishwasher. And there is some technology out there today that says even dishwashers can listen to you. Anyway, back to the smart meters. Guys, just like that octopus with those tentacles, you now have a tentacle coming into your house through a smart meter that can tell what you're doing in your home. But then everybody's like, man, my internet is slow. This dial-up internet. And then we go to, you know, the type of internet I had, DSL for a long time. Man, this DSL, this is just so slow, man. We can't do nothing. We can't upload nothing. You know, my upload speed is 0.33 or whatever. And I need at least a 1 to be able to stay up with YouTube and put on videos and stuff like this. And oh my God, I just wish I had fiber optic. And then all of a sudden, fiber optic comes to your house. Fiber optic is another one of those tentacles that stick into your house. The technology they put in that box outside will last for generations. It has so much stuff in there that you have no clue what's even involved in it. It's another one of those tentacles. Now you have two of them coming into your house. All of this technology just sucking out of the inside of your house is what's going on in there. Then you get a satellite that's beaming right down into your house. You got Gen 5 coming in. Guys, let me tell you something. Just like that octopus with its tentacles reaching out, grabbing whatever its prey is and then gulping it up and eating it on the inside. That's what the powers to be are doing. They're sending out tentacles into the house, trying to figure out exactly what you're doing so that they can make life just a little bit more complicated, because they're trying to figure out an algorithm to people's lives. Don't let life become too complicated for you, and don't freak out about the events of the day. Because let me tell you something. The Bible says certain things is just going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. God says they've got to happen. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. There's going to be all these things. Nations are going to rise against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms. All these things are going to happen, the Bible says, and the end is not yet. Beware, it says, when they start crying, peace, peace. Because then sudden destruction comes. So guys, let me tell you something. Don't let life get too complicated for you, because complicated lives lead to health problems. Health problems lead to doctors. Doctors lead to doctor bills. Doctor bills and doctors lead to hospitals, and hospitals lead to big hospital bills. And then you got to have insurance, and you got to have all these things that just keep compounding one on top of the other, and it's all because of stress. Stress, anxiety, all these things are what leads to many health problems. So sit back, enjoy what you have, because no man is promised tomorrow. And I've never seen a hearse pulling a U-Haul trailer with it anywhere. So let me tell you something. You can't take it with you, so you might as well just enjoy it while you have it here, and enjoy your life, because it's probably the best you're going to ever get. And guys, I know today has been kind of a soul-searching thing, because it's to make us think. That's what I wanted to make us think today. To think about, what do we do on a daily basis? What are our feelings toward other people? How do we feel toward someone? You know, do we love people like we should love people? Do we love somebody? Is there somebody in our life that really means a lot to us that we just think the world of, and yet we don't know how to tell them, or we don't know how to express it? And it eats us up on the inside, because it brings a part out in us that we just want to be near some people all the time, and yet we don't feel like we can. You know, that can lead to a complicated life. It can lead to stress. And sometimes it's not a healthy stress. So, if there's somebody that you really love, let them know. Don't carry it around on your shoulders all the time. Express it. I think they'll appreciate it if you just tell them. Because, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I love each and every one of you. Y'all mean the world to me. Because I never dreamed any time in my life anybody would sit down and listen to me talk about anything. I used to do a lot of public speaking, but it was about events and different things taking place, and about the Bible and different things like that. And the old adage was I had a captured audience. I never had anybody just tell me that, hey, I just love listening to you talk. You know, that means a lot to me. And guys, I love each and every one of y'all. And thank you for taking your time out today to sit here on Porch Time and listen to us talk. And you listened mostly, and I did the talking. But you might have inserted something in every so often, and I just didn't hear it. But thank y'all from Deep South Homestead.